Am I the a-hole for going no contact with my sister-in-law for trying to break up my marriage? My partner has been suffering from clinical depression, and it hit hard after we had our baby. He started spiraling badly, emotionally checked out, angry all the time, and drinking way more than he ever had before. There was a heaviness in the air at home. I found myself constantly bracing for the next outburst, walking on eggshells just to avoid triggering anything. His mental fog wasn't just frustrating, it was becoming dangerous, both emotionally and practically. I felt trapped, scared, and overwhelmed. And yet, I still wanted to help him. He wasn't listening to me anymore. Every attempt to talk about therapy or getting help ended in him shutting down or lashing out. So I reached out to the only person I thought might get through to him, his sister. She's a nurse, and I figured her voice might carry more weight, especially since they were close growing up. I called her, hoping she would support us, support him, and help me get him the help he clearly needed. But instead of doing that, she jumped straight into telling me I should leave him. She started listing off childhood examples and patterns of behavior, trying to convince me he would never change. I was stunned. I had to cut her off and remind her, I'm not calling because I'm giving up on him. I'm calling because I still believe in him. I just need help reaching him. To her credit, she did eventually talk to him, and whatever she said must have clicked because he finally agreed to seek help after their conversation. I was genuinely grateful. So, I texted her to thank her, and I explained just how dire things had felt on my end, that I was at my breaking point, and if he hadn't agreed to get help, I was seriously considering flying out to stay with friends abroad to get some support. We had just had a baby, and I was still recovering from surgery with zero support system where I live. All my close friends had moved away during the pandemic, and I was completely isolated. Instead of understanding or even asking for clarity, she completely misread the text and flew off the handle. She interpreted my message as if I was literally on my way to the airport right then and there, fleeing the country with a newborn. She even implied she might call the police on me for kidnapping. I tried to calm things down and clarified repeatedly that she had misunderstood. I told her plainly, I'm not going anywhere right now. I was just explaining how isolated I felt and how desperate I've been for support. My friends live in other countries now. If they want to see the baby, they have to fly here. If I want to see them, I have to fly to them. That's all I meant. And it's not kidnapping if my partner knows where we are. But she wouldn't let it go. When I asked her point-blank if she was actually considering calling the police, she refused to answer. Instead, she escalated. She began diagnosing me from afar, throwing around terms like psychosis and postpartum depression, claiming I was mentally unstable. At that point, I contacted a lawyer and informed her. That was the only thing that finally made her back off. The lawyer and a medical professional reviewed our entire text conversation. Both agreed that I hadn't said or done anything suggesting mental instability. And because of how our legal setup works, we're not technically married and I'm listed as the primary caregiver, I can leave the country with the baby as long as I inform my partner. He doesn't have to agree with it, he just needs to be informed. He, on the other hand, cannot legally do the same without my permission. It was terrifying to realize how easily someone, a nurse, no less, could use her professional standing to cast doubt on my mental state. Even though she isn't legally certified to diagnose conditions in this context, her word alone could have triggered law enforcement or social services to intervene. If things had gone even slightly differently, I could have been in serious danger of losing custody, losing my assets, or worse. So, I made the decision to cut her off completely. My partner, seeing how much damage she caused, reduced his communication with her to bare minimum, essential only contact. Fast forward to a year later, she sends a birthday card for the baby. It felt like a potential olive branch. We thought maybe enough time had passed, and perhaps we could try to mend things. So we reached out. We apologized for our side of the fallout, not because we felt we were in the wrong, but because we were willing to extend an olive branch too. All we asked was for her to acknowledge her role in what happened. She scoffed and brushed it off with a smug. Oh, that's what this is about? No, I didn't do anything wrong. Then she went behind our backs and warned their parents that I was starting drama again and going to ruin everything. She twisted the story, lied about what happened, and painted herself as the victim. And when the parents, to their credit, suggested a group call to get everyone on the same page, she suddenly felt overwhelmed and needed space. Because, of course, she knew she couldn't lie her way through a group conversation. The truth would come out. After that, it became painfully clear who she was. Someone who creates chaos and then plays the victim when confronted. Someone who would rather risk a mother losing her child than admit she misunderstood a text. someone who sees accountability as an attack. So we went no contact with her and eventually with the parents too. They chose to believe her version of events, even after we offered to show them the full, unedited conversation. Instead, they clung to the redacted version she provided, the one that made her look good. So, am I the a-hole for drawing a firm boundary and choosing to protect myself and my child, even if it meant cutting off family? Or should I have just swept everything under the rug for the sake of peace? Edit. The kidnapping conversation was entirely in writing. We offered to show the full thread to the parents. They refused, choosing instead to believe her edited version. As I mentioned, we aren't legally married, and by default, I'm recognized as the baby's primary caregiver. In my country, as long as I inform my partner of our whereabouts, I am legally allowed to travel internationally with the baby. He doesn't have to approve it, just be informed. He can't do the same in reverse. Also, while some nurses here are given certain authority to assess mental health, she doesn't have the legal authority to diagnose, but she does have just enough professional credibility to influence law enforcement or child services in a dangerous way. That's what made all of this so scary and so unforgivable.